Okay, so now today we have come for one important last topic of our SAP materials management, that is vendor sourcing and RFQ. So see guys, like when we started with our introduction session for SAP MM, so we understood these things, right? So we discussed about finding out the requirement information, finding out the new source of supply, selecting a vendor, making a contracts, and then placing the order where we create a POs, then take vendor delivery follow-up for material delivery follow-up, and after receiving the material we create a GRN. Then here we do the invoice verification and payment activities, right guys? So all these things we have understood, but since we started with the P2P cycle, so we did not concentrate on how to find out the new source of supply if the vendor was not available, because the only difference between S2P cycle and P2P cycle was the availability of the vendor. So in P2P cycle we used to take as vendor was available, and in S2P cycle vendor is not available for your material. So our main task today will be understanding with respect to S2P cycle. Let us take that here. Vendor sourcing. Okay, so source to pay cycle. Now see guys. So initially, whenever we have got a requirement of any material, so based on that we make a decision of purchasing the materials from an existing vendor, or if the vendor is not available, then we have to purchase from the new vendor where we have to source it first. So anyway, purchase is the option what we are going to do at the end. So that is nothing but what we call it as placing the order, creating GRN, doing invoice verification, and which is nothing but we can call it as P2P cycle. So in short, I can make it P2P cycle, all of that. But before we come for P2P cycle, we have to do a lot many other things which happens in the sourcing activities. And that is what we are going to learn in today's session. Now, we have to take a requirement for of a material for a new project which is going to happen in our company. So let us again take a assumption case study and go with that. So what we'll do guys, let me create a material code just for our activity here. So only material code guys. I hope everyone knows how to create a material code. Industry sector. Hmm, okay, so let me say okay, so there is a requirement of a keyboard. Okay, so let us say we have got a requirement of this material that is called as keyboard, and let me say I'm looking for an indirect procurement here. So we need a so there is a requirement from the customer, and we have to purchase the keyboards and give it to the customers guys. So our requirement is keyboard here. So now when we start with this main production activities and all, so here we get to know that the material is not available in our stock, and therefore we have to purchase it from the outside. And whenever purchase department checks for the vendor's information, vendor's information is not available. Good guys, vendor's information is not available. So what you're going to do in this scenario, because this is a completely a new project for which you don't have the vendor or you don't have the, any of these other informations. So we are going to take this and we have to process with the new source of supply. So whenever vendor's information is not available, I have to find out the source of supplies. And to do this, we have got two ways. The first is we call it as internal sourcing, and one more step we call it as external sourcing. So what's the difference? Internal sourcing, external sourcing. See guys, Internal sourcing is again a part of sourcing activities where we search the vendors from the existing list from the company. And external sourcing is where we are going to completely find out a new vendor whose information is not available in the company. Now let us understand internal sourcing here. So source with existing vendors. So what do you mean by this? Now see, when I have got a requirement of the keyboard which is required for a new project, so I can ask any of the existing vendors who can supply me these materials, who is already associated with my company long before. For example, like we have 1000 vendor, 1010 vendor. So which material we were purchasing from these vendors? Earlier we were purchasing monitors like M01 material, M02 material, M03 material we have taken in the initial classes, right? Now I can contact that vendor and ask him whether he can supply me keyboard also or no, because he has got monitors. So I can assume that he might even have a supply of the keyboard, and I can purchase the keyboard from that vendor. Correct? So this is called as source with existing vendors. We call it as internal sourcing. Okay, guys. So we are going to find out the new vendors information for that material, but with the existing list. So that is what we call it as internal sourcing. But suppose if that vendor, who are internal vendors, guys, if they don't provide you the correct information, or let us say they don't have the material requirement which I want, then I have to go with what, guys? External sourcing. So here resource external vendors. When we go for external vendors, guys, it is not an easy task. See, internal vendors are the one who are already existing, but they are supplying some different materials to you. They are not involved in supplying this new material requirement. They are involved in some other material. But at least I know about those vendors, like what is their uh, defective ratio, like how much quantities they are going to send in defect, okay, and what is their delivery time, what are their payment terms, what kind of what I say material quality they supply. So I have got a good knowledge about that, because already I am dealing with those vendors for supplying me other materials like monitors and all, so I can trust them easily. But these external vendors are the completely new one with whom you have never dealt. Correct or no? So you have to make a lot of research work on them, and after that we have to go for selection process, which is again a very difficult task. But when you don't have any option to do internal sourcing, then we have to go for external sourcing. So for external sourcing, there are multiple ways to do external sourcing. Like we can source the vendors from various websites. One common thing I have already dealt in this master data class, I told you to research about the materials, vendors, and all those things. So like India Mart, right? Thomasnet or Alibaba.com, correct? Or uh, trade with China, or even we can take an example of yes, guys, SAP Ariba, correct? So we have got multiple tools to do the vendor sourcing, guys. So now even some yeah, even this one I forgot to tell. So even we can go with Amazon business case, right? So if we can find out the local vendors, we can find out the international suppliers. So we have got various websites through which we can source the vendors. Or apart from this, you can even float what is tenders. Have you heard about tenders? Anyone here who has heard about tenders? What do you mean by tenders, guys?
Tenders means contract.
I hope you might have heard about government tenders and all to construct a bridge or to road, right? Anything? So likewise, or to construct a dam. anything like that. So same, even a private limited companies can float their tenders in the news articles or newspapers or anywhere where our interested companies or interested vendors can give their quotations to that uh, company case if they want to do the business with them, right? So it is just like an RFQ process, but here we can float the tenders that whatever our requirements are there, we can float it, and respective interested candidates can submit their quotations here. So this is one kind of what I say, shortlisting the vendors or searching for the vendors only, but not directly. It becomes indirectly, like we are floating and they are applying here. So in India Mart or the other websites, what we do, we search it from our end. I don't know. So when we don't get the correct informations, we can do it from the external way. So this is a this is what we call it as external sourcing, where we don't have any information about the vendor, so we have to research about that. But what is our main aim in this determination of source of supply? To find out as much as vendors list, so that I can contact them and I can go for next process, right? So I have to find out as many vendors list so that we can process with the procurement of this new material. Now these vendors, which are internal sourced vendors, these are called as preferred vendors. What they are called as? They are called as preferred vendors. And these are called as, the external sourced vendors are called as non-preferred vendors. This is a question asked in WNS interviews. So I have said this, what do you mean by preferred and what do you mean by non-preferred vendors. So why we call it as preferred and non-preferred ways? Simple reason. See, internal sourced vendors are the one who are already associated with my company, but for some different materials, right? So I can easily trust them. So always the first preference is given to this internal sourced vendor itself, because I'm doing a business with them from a long time and I can easily trust them. So they're called as preferred vendors. Externally sourced vendors, I don't have any information about these vendors and I've never dealt with any business with these vendors. So these are called as non-preferred vendors. Okay guys, this is a question which is asked in the interviews. So please remember that what is preferred and what is not preferred. So let us say after doing this research, we have found out some 10 vendors list. For this project, we have found out some 10 vendors list. And I can give a project name also, saying here project name is, I can assign a project name here. So I'll say Q105. Okay, I can give like this, Q105. Okay, so for this project, I have found out 10 vendors list. So in that also, let us say 5 vendors are preferred vendors and 5 vendors are non-preferred vendors. Now in some interviews, they'll ask you in this sourcing field, okay, how many vendors have you researched to procure a material from that vendor? How many vendors have you researched to do a sourcing activities? So you have to say minimum 3 vendors, guys. Minimum 3 vendors we consider for sourcing activities and to proceed with the comparison and selection process, guys. Less than 3 vendors is not acceptable, guys, here. So you can take any number of vendors above 3 vendors, but minimum 3 vendors we have to take into consideration. Good. So here I have found out what 10 vendors list. Now, what after this? Once we find out 10 vendors list, what are you going to do with these vendors? Are you directly going to take quotations and do the business directly? No, guys, there is still a lot many activities. See, here I have just collected the information about this vendor. Like when I visit these websites and all, I will get their contact number, mail IDs, or their location informations and all. So with this information, I can contact them and ask for the information about my material. So that is called as RFI. RFI means what is? Request for information. Very important term, guys. request for information. So what is our main step in this request for information? We have to contact all these vendors and ask for the material informations related to their material specifications, material descriptions, material size, material, not with respect to price and okay. Price we are going to deal in the later on section. But right now, for me, the important is the specifications about the materials and how is that vendor, how what is the vendor's background and other information. Simple thing like I can compare this example with what guys, let us say you want to purchase a vehicle, right guys? So your requirement is a vehicle. So what you do, you first make a proper analysis which car you want, you set a budget and all those things, and you search for the showrooms. If anyone is there in your contact list, those are called as sourced internal sourcing, because you have got the already the information from your friends or family members, so from them you collect it, right? Or you can do external sourcing, like you go to the websites and just search on Google like which are the Tata showrooms available nearby or in my locality, so then you can go and visit the showroom, right? That is what we call request for information. So when we visit those showroom guys, are you going to directly finalize the car? No. So first you are going to collect the information related to how many variants of car are there, what is the different variants informations, what is the difference between each of the variants. You can take a test drive and then afterwards you will ask for the quotations at the end. Correct or no? So before we go for quotations, we will collect all the information required which is needed for us. So that is called as request for information. So why it is important here? This is important because at the end, see guys, before you purchase anything, you should know that the vendor which you are selecting is a correct vendor, whether he has got correct materials, qualities, and all or no. Now, let us say I said that my requirement is a keyboard, correct. Now, I will make it much more detailed specifications. So, by saying that I want a wireless, compatible, foldable keyboard, which I can carry it very easily in everywhere, correct. So probability is that when I searched with the keyboard, uh, what I say keyword, so it might have given you all this vendors list. But how many of these vendors are going to provide me the correct specified material, that is the correct keyboard which I have got a requirement for? Maybe not all of them, correct or no? So therefore, in this request for information, our main target is to collect our material requirement information from these vendors. So we will contact them, we will mail them, or we can even visit their location if they are in your locality. Visit them and get the information guys. Okay, collect the information. So what we do here, by collecting the information, we shortlist the best vendors out of that. Correct. And let us say after doing all these activities, collecting the information, we have shortlisted 4 vendors. Out of 10 vendors, we have shortlisted 4 vendors. And in that also, again, I'll take a combination with 2 preferred vendors and 2 non-preferred vendors. Correct, guys? So these shortlisted vendors are also called as approved vendors list, or in short, we call it as AVL. Remember this, guys. Very, very important. Right. So now I have got a clear picture about which vendors can supply me the correct described material, correct or correct specification material. So once I have this information, now I will go for RFQ process. What is RFQ? RFQ stands for request for quotations. Request for quotation. Now I hope everyone knows what is a quotation. But here we are speaking with the request for quotation. Who creates a request for quotation? Buyer towards supplier. This you have to remember. Multiple students, those who are fresher, they get confused here and they say quotation or RFQ, request for quotation, both are same document and it is created by the supplier only. No case. So RFQ is created by the buyer where he requests the information about the materials and pricing part in that RFQ, and he sends to the supplier, and supplier will prepare the quotations and give it back to the buyer guys. So there is a difference between RFQ and quotation, request for quotation and quotation guys. Remember this guys. Now when buyer creates this RFQ, he will add a lot of information in this related to what? Related to his requirement, like what requirement he has. Right now we have requirement of only one material, that is keyboard. About this keyboard, about the specifications, when he is expecting the delivery of the material, what is a quotation deadline date to submit the quotation, all those things guys. Have you heard about quotation deadline date? Just now I told. This is an important parameter guys. Yes guys. Quotation deadline date. What do you mean by this? Anyone has heard about this? Okay. You see, guys, who is requesting the quotation? Buyer. Correct. So he's expecting that he will receive the quotation from a supplier in few days. But in how many days he is going to receive, that information has to be given by the buyer through this quotation deadline date. So see guys, if you are requesting any information from a supplier, are you going to wait for 1 year to receive that information? No, no. So you are going to say that if you are interested to do the business, you have to submit the quotation before this deadline date. So that is called as quotation deadline date. So this information is very important while creating this RFQ. Okay, I'll come to that practically also. I'll tell. So how many RFQs are we going to generate here, guys? Any idea? How many RFQs are we going to generate? You see,
Four.
guys. Yeah, since four vendors are there guys, since I have to contact four vendors here, so four RFQs we need to generate. Vendor 1, vendor 2, vendor 3 and vendor 4. Okay, but the thing is, whatever requirement information you are going to add in this RFQ, will it be same or will it be different? Yes guys, will
Same.
it be same or different?
It will be different.
See guys, if you add different material requirement information, then how can we make a comparison of this? How can we select who is best? Now you'll say in RFQ1, you'll say you are sending it to four different vendors. Of course, the vendors information is different, but your requirement information. So are you going to say in RFQ1 your requirement is keyboard, in RFQ2 your requirement is mouse, in RFQ4, 3 and 4 we are saying that my requirement is a monitors and cables. If you take like that requirement guys in for all four RFQs, then how we are going to choose who is the best one? Because here you are listing that all four metals are different, so how can you make a comparison? So requirement cannot be different guys, requirement should be same, because right now what is the requirement? Yes guys, keyboard. So the requirement information will remain same in all four RFQ, that will not change. Okay, but only vendors information will change guys. Remember this guys, right? So in that also what I'll do, the first two vendors who are there, so these I will take with the existing vendors, internally sourced vendor, or we can call it as preferred vendors, and remaining two vendors we are going to call it as non-preferred vendors. So who are those? We'll see it later on, because we have shortlisted four vendors, right? So two preferred and two non-preferred. So these are preferred and these are non-preferred. Done. So what happens after this guys? So after we prepare the quotations and all, we release it to the vendors, and what vendor will do? After receiving the RFQ from the buyer, vendor prepares the quotation and sends it to the buyer. What buyer will do? Buyer will check all the RFQs, receive RFQs, and maintain each, sorry, you will receive quotations. You will check all the quotations and maintain each quotation information into system. Now, what do you think? What all informations vendor will provide in quotation related to the request from the buyer, as whatever his requirement is related to material, he will send it. So as per that, vendor also will prepare like which grade of material is using to prepare that material, what are the quality standards, apart from that what is the price, what are his payment terms, what is his delivery time, what are his inco terms, what is his minimum order quantities information. So likewise he will prepare quotation information and he will send it to the buyer. So once buyer receives that quotation, he will check that quotations and maintain each quotation information into system individually, separately you can say. Right. So now what we have to do after maintaining this all information? Yes guys, we have to go for comparison. We call it as preparing of comparison statement. So let me show you an example which we had received as an assessment test for a particular candidate. So I'll show you the same example here. So see guys, so here we have got the quotation given by a supplier. So the supplier name is Northly Furniture, and here the name is given as Performa Invoice. So Performa Invoice can be also called as quotation only guys. So you can take that into consideration. Order ID, service order ID, and customer name, that is the client, that is the purchaser. And here we have got a payment terms, 30 days delivery and invoice date, and the requirement is what guys, a coffee table. So product descriptions are there, okay, and this description like size, height, depth, and how many quantities are required, and what is their unit cost. Right, you are purchasing one unit, so the cost of this, and it will be the, if the total units are consumed, then into that many units guys, because it's only one unit requirement is the quantity one. So 1250 into 1, so the total is 1250, and add the GST amount, and the total amount will come here. So what is the total amount including all the cost? That is 4130. And apart from that, you can see they have added some terms and conditions. So you have said that transportation is inclusive in this, and installation will be not available. So installation you have to take care by yourself. Okay, so even if you pay, the installation will be not done by this company. Installation you have to look from outside only. Okay, so this is one quotation given by that vendor, Northly Furniture. So there is second vendor. So second vendor name is what is Northly Furniture, Prism Woods. Okay, so they have given us the second quotation. So here they have provided us the information about their again coffee table, the cost, and installation is, they are saying that installation is available, right, but it is cost, it is going to cost separately, that is added here. So altogether all the information is done, and they have said transportation will cost you extra, so transportation cost will be 1000 rupees. So altogether we add and make a subtotal including taxation and all. Apart from this, they have given some other terms and conditions here, you can see. So they have said that their payment terms is 100% advance along with the purchase order, and any other requirements for flooring will be from customer side. So other things they have to take care. Delivery period will be placing, after placing the order, installation will be done within 6 to 7 days, billing period, no last minute changes, and many other terms and condition they are put here. Good. And same thing with the third vendor also. So there is a third vendor called as triangular. So even he has provided the price, including installation and other terms and conditions he has said. So his payment terms are there, guys. You can see 50% advance and 50% after completion of the implementation, right? And warranties are provided, and also all the taxes are applicable, he has said, which he has not shown in this quotation here. So likewise, multiple other terms and conditions and all those things will be given. What we are going to do, likewise, when we get the information about this quotations, we have to add in a comparison statement. So here we have a comparison statement where we add multiple things like quotation date, product description, also here you can see, yeah, total cost of the material. Okay, this is before taxation, and whether the transportation is inclusive or is it extra chargeable. Okay, if it is extra, then how much, if they are mentioned, we'll put that also. Installation, the first vendor has said it is not available completely, but second vendor are charging extra for that. And here we are getting the total cost of the material before taxation or any other extra cost. And after that, total cost after tax, right? And what were the delivery times, what were their payment terms. So whatever the main important consideration points were there, so all those points I have taken and I have prepared a comparison chart here. So likewise, when we receive the quotations from these vendors, right, so we will make a comparison statements. So guys, according to you, what are the important factors for comparison? Normally, if you are taking a quotation from any showrooms to purchase a vehicle, what are the important things you consider? Yes, guys.
Pricing sub
Always the first part will be the price.
service was
Price is always the first important factor. Net price, gross price, that is including the GSTs and all. And apart from that, any extra cost is there. So including all those things, what is the total price? So we have to check that things. Okay. Next what? Apart from price.
Quality.
Yes, guys. So quality is also a very important factor. But how do you check a quality on the quotation? How do you check a quality on the quotation?
warranty of the products it's mentioned.
Hmm? See, if I want to check the quality of that coffee table, which I was showing you the information about, how you are going to get the quality information on that paper or on that quotation?
Customer feedback, ratings, and reviews, sir.
Yeah, customer feedback is there, but before going to customer feedback, you have to check the quality, no, because you have visited the showroom or somewhere, right? So I will do. So that's why you take the test ride and all, no? The same thing here, guys. Now suppose if I want a keyboard, so along with the RFQs, I will also mention my requirement information saying that you have to send me 3 to 4 sample copies for quality check. So I will receive a sample copies for which I'll say I will make a payment also and he will accept it and I will get that samples. So once I receive those samples, I can make a quality check by making some testings and all, and then we can identify the quality of the material. In some cases where we cannot get the material to our locations or we cannot take a samples, then we can directly visit their company or their premises and do the quality check. We call it as auditing, vendor auditings. Okay, so we can do vendor auditings and check what standard process they are maintaining to manufacture it, right? What are their other standard practices? Have they got any quality certifications like ISO standard certifications are there? So likewise we can understand their quality factors. Right. Apart from that apart from that, even quantity becomes an important factor, guys. What is quantity factor? We did know is MOQ or MOV, minimum order quantities or minimum order value. Correct. Now suppose guys, if the vendor says that you have to order minimum 5,000 pieces in every purchase order, right? And let me say I'm creating a PO for monthly basis and my monthly requirement is only 2,000 pieces. So are you going to accept that? Because vendor is saying his minimum order quantity is 5,000 but your requirement is only 2,000. So what you are going to do by taking that extra 3,000 quantities? Vendor is saying that I will not accept your PO if it is less than 5,000. Then we have to check this information whether vendor's terms and conditions agree with your requirement or no. Similarly, you have to check the production capacity also. It's exactly the reverse case of that. What about production capacity factor? Like now, see, suppose guys, I will take a scenario, exactly reverse scenario here. Let us say my requirement is 5,000 pieces every month, but vendor's manufacturing capacity is only 2,000. Then in that case, what you need to do, guys, are you going to take two to three different vendors? Are you going to purchase a model from multiple vendors? So you'll say if there is any other vendor who is giving you for better price, better quality, I'll go with that. And if their production capacity is like 10,000 pieces per month, so I can easily purchase the material from them. Right? So we have to check those things also. Of course, now when we come for your things like vendor performance, we have to check this also, guys. Vendor performance means from how many years he's in the business. We have to do a check. Like we will go for like customer reviews. We check the customer reviews. We check the website's informations, what is available. We will check the vendors customer feedbacks if anything are taken. So what are the other things, right? So we can get the informations and we can make a performance analysis of this vendors also. Apart from this, we can even make a comparison with respect to the delivery time, or we can call it as lead time. We can make a comparison on what guys, payment terms. We can make a comparison on Incoterms. Again, we can make a comparison on discounts if he is providing. We can make a comparison on the services, what kind of service he is providing after the material delivery, whether he's doing a good service or no. Or apart from that, any other warranties or guarantees are there, whether that is also applicable or no. So we take into consideration multiple factors, guys. Getting for making a comparison, and it all depends upon the uh, company to company, or you can say even with respect to the project to project or the material to material. Ready? So this is what we call it as a comparison. We have to go for all those factors and make a proper comparison. So what is the use of this comparison statement? It will give you the clear picture about who is a best vendor according to your requirement, because your requirement might be something different. You'll say I don't have any issue with the price, but I want a quality product only, where the delivery time is less than 5 days. I want immediate deliveries. So those all conditions, guys, what are your requirements? Based on that, you will make a comparison. Right? So let me take an example and go with that. So let me say here, uh, we have four RFQs, right? Okay. So let us say the first vendor who is there, who has provided me the quotation, he is saying that the price of this keyboard is uh, 80 euros per piece. Second one is saying that it is 100 euros per piece. Third one is saying that it is 95 euros per piece. And fourth one is saying that 150 euros per piece. So tell me guys, which vendor do you select? Yes.
Who is providing less price?
Got it. So now since you said the price was important, so we compare the price, and according to the price, so this vendor becomes the first vendor becomes the best vendor. But do you think price is the only important factor? You don't consider other things? We have to consider other things, guys. Now for example, let us say I want a delivery within 10 days. My delivery time is 10 days. I cannot go beyond that. So let me say the first vendor who is there, he is saying that his delivery time is 45 days. Second vendor is saying that his delivery time is mm, 12 days. Third vendor is saying that his delivery time is 7 days. And last vendor is saying that his delivery time is 5 days. Now which vendor do you select, guys?
Third one.
Agree? Will you go with third vendor?
Yes, yes.
Right? Because when we come for delivery time, so of course we are checking the day. Of course his delivery time is very less, but the price is very high. So I can go with this vendor where the price is also low and he is fitting in my delivery time, because I said I want in 10 days. Right? So within 10 days he is fitting, so I can go with this vendor only. Right? So now you can see that your option has been changed from first vendor to third vendor. Now let us say after this I will make a comparison with the payment term also. So I want majorly all credit payment terms, that is net payment terms. Okay. So this first vendor who is there, he is saying that he is having a credit payment terms of let us say 10 days net. So he is giving me only 10 days time to make a payment. The second vendor who is there, he is saying that he is going to give me 60 days net time. Third vendor is saying that he wants advance payment in advance, and last vendor is also saying payment in advance only. Now which vendor do you select, this?
Second. Second one, sir.
Again your option has changed now. Hmm? See, as per the points which I am giving here, so your option, your selection point is changing. Correct or not? Selection vendor is changing. So why it is happening? Because you want always the best, but what are your requirements, that you have to understand this. Right? So price is not the only factor to compare or to make a selection process. Apart from price, you have to check other factors also. Okay. So likewise a comparison statement should be made, and we have to make a comparison based on who is the best vendor. Okay. So once we do this, once we make a comparison, what happens the next is, and let us say that we have got a confusion now between first vendor, second vendor, and third vendor to proceed. So what we do now is, now we have to make a negotiation. Why negotiation? Because whatever information you have received in the quotation, is it the final information? Is it fixed information? No. Which it can be still manipulated. It can be still negotiated with the vendor. So whoever vendor gets negotiated with your terms and conditions or nearby to that, we select that vendor. Correct? So after doing all this process, now we come for guys selection of best vendor after negotiation. Negotiation is a very important factor. On what all factors we can negotiate? See guys, I can say I can negotiate with this first vendor, not on price, so price is best only, but I can negotiate to reduce his delivery time and also increase the credit payment terms. Or I can negotiate with the second vendor to reduce the price, because already 80 euros is there. So you'll say that I'm getting a better quotation from you, so try to reduce your price to 90 euros or nearby to 85 euros. So I can go with that. And you can say that I'm going to give you the big order every monthly basis. So my project will be for next 5 years. So you will be having a very good orders. So you try to reduce the price and you deal with that, because his delivery time is 12 days, so which is manageable, so I can take it less to 10 days, but his payment terms are very good, so I don't have any issue with that. or you can negotiate with the third vendor to reduce the price also and to get with the payment terms also. Good. So likewise you can negotiate. So whoever vendors get negotiated, you will select that vendor. Understood? But once the vendor is selected, now do you think you can directly start with the purchase activities? Not yet, guys. Because once the vendor is selected, we have to go for vendor onboarding process, guys. What is vendor onboarding process?
Documentation process with all the agreements and contract.
Correct. See, guys, a simple example I'll take. Let let you all assume that you are giving an interview to a company and you got selected, and HR says that you are shortlisted for the company. Okay. So can you join the company from next day and start working?
No, sir.
So what you need to do, guys? So once the shortlisting is done, after that you have to, the HR will send you some information related to the documentations and all, where you have to submit your documents. They will do a verification. They'll release the offer letter to you. The offer letter is nothing but a contract between you and the company, where you will accept all the salary part, all the other terms and conditions we make a sign. Same here, a onboarding process, guys. So in vendor onboarding process, we onboard the vendor with multiple activities, like we take different types of forms, we collect the banking details, we collect the registration informations, and there is a contract. So that is what we call it as contract management. See, guys, if you want to search about vendor onboarding and contract management, there is a website called as whatfix.com. If you just go there, you will get different countries documents required to onboard the vendor. So they have asked multiple times in the interviews that how do you onboard the vendor and what all documents are required. Ready, guys? So you have to search about those. So make a list of these documents, guys, for vendor onboarding for different countries. Every country has got a different types of onboarding applications. So those documents we need to take care. So now when I go for this contract management, so proper all the terms and condition accepted between the buyer and the supplier has been put forward, and a legal team will come into play where they add their legal terms and conditions and create a contract between vendor and buyer. Right? So once the contract is done, so then we can say now we can go with the what, vendor purchase activities. But it is not yet completely ready, because once it is done, once your contract is done, there is still many things which we need to build in the backend, and that is nothing but we call it as what is master data management. So once the information is collected from these vendors, all those contracts and whatever other parameters are there will be submitted to the master data team, where they create the master data related to vendor materials, update the information in the system, info record, source list. We they set all these parameter, and after this we come for what, guys? We come for P2P cycle. It is then we process with what? Just procurement activities, normal procurement activities, PR, PU, GR, and all. So this process is what we call as vendor sourcing. And of course, we have dealt with RFQs and all here. So vendor sourcing and RFQ. Now the question arises: can we do all these things on our SAP system? Not all of them, guys. Right? So there are some platforms where they take care about multiple activities, but not all of them we can do it on the system itself. So some part we have to, like negotiation I said, or collecting the information, or doing the sourcing activities, we have to do it manually itself, guys. Okay, we are going to maintain a report of that, but we have to do it all manual work. Nothing can be like posted on the system and taken care. wherever documentation work will come, like creating the RFQs and all. So those things can be taken care by the system, but not all of them, guys. Okay. So we have got multiple tools only for sourcing separately. Like I told you, SAP Ariba. SAP Ariba is a very good platform for sourcing, guys. Multiple companies do sourcing activities from SAP Ariba itself. Like GP is there in Mumbai and Coimbatore location. So they hire for sourcing activities with 3+ years of experience, guys. So they have got a lot of openings in that. So this is a very important parameters to look into and understand the entire sourcing activities. Every company has got a different process of getting into sourcing, but whatever the points I have told, it is more than enough for you to overall to understand the overall step of what is sourcing. But when we get with the interview preparation part, I'll explain you all in detailed manner, like each and every sourcing documents, what all things are required. But till then you can do the assignment which I have given. Yes. Now here, for practical part, we can consider RFQ and create it in our system. So I'll show you a sample of that. RFQ, request for quotations. Of course, to do this, we have got a different P codes. We have ME41 to create, ME42 to make the changes, ME43 for display, ME45 for release. Then we have ME47 for uh, maintaining the quotation informations. Then we have ME49 for price comparison. See guys, in system we cannot compare each and everything. So price is one factor which we can make a comparison. So all these things we can do. And apart from this, we have ME9A for message output if you want to send any documents to the vendors and all through mails and all. So just like in PO I told about that. So where here also we can send the documents to the vendors. Right. But before we go for this RFQ creation and all, I want to deal with one important topic because it is required in this RFQ, that is called as one-time vendor, or we call it as OTV. What am I one-time vendor, guys? Don't go with the name. So don't say that, sir, we are going to use that vendor for only one time. No, these are dummy vendor codes, or you can say fake vendor codes, which are generated in our system to use for those vendors whose information is not available in the system. Now see, we are going to deal with a preferred vendor and a non-preferred vendor in our system. For preferred vendors, we can create RFQ, guys, because they have got the vendor's information available in the system already. But what about non-preferred vendors? How we are going to add the information about non-preferred vendors? So you'll say, sir, we will add it manually. Okay, yes, correct. But without vendor code, we cannot add any information in SAP, guys. Even if it is manual information, we cannot create any documents without vendor code. And the problem is that we cannot create a permanent vendor code for this non-preferred vendors also in the initial stage. Before selecting, we cannot do that because we don't know which vendor will get selected and which vendor will get rejected. Correct? If this non-preferred vendor gets selected, then I will collect all this information in the contract management and I can create a vendor code for him. But until then, I have to process with RFQs and all. I have to create RFQ, no guys. So without vendor code, how can you create RFQ? It is just like you cannot create a PO with vendor without vendor. Correct? So for that issue, we have to go with what? One-time vendor. So one-time vendor is a dummy vendor code which we are going to use it, or we are going to create it in our system and keep them ready. Whenever we need them, we'll use it. Now the advantage is that we can use this dummy vendor code for n number of vendors for n number of times. I'll show you. So how to create? Simple ways, through vendor master data itself. So the T code is xk01 to create that. But only thing is here, when we create it, we actually choose a vendor account group. Normally we take which one, KRED or ZTMM account group to create a vendor. But in this case, we will take a standard account group which is predefined in the system that is CPD or CPDL, one time vendor code for internal number assignment, and CPDL for external number assignment. Okay guys, so first we'll create this and then we go for RFQ creation. So let us use this /nxk01 create vendor. So I will use some OTV vendor 119 company code purchase organization account group case. So when I come for account group, here you can see we have got here different CPD, one time vendor internal number assignment, one time vendor external number assignment. So I'll taking external because I am giving the vendor code to get inside. And whenever it asks for any information here guys, don't enter any information guys, leave it blank, because even though you enter any information here, it will be not considered while entering into any document. It will be completely left blank. So wherever mandatory fields are there, you just enter anything like sample or test vendor and all. But even you can see system is not asking any all the detailed information like it asks in the normal vendor creation, because these are not permanent vendor codes. So reconciliation account number is same, but the currency factors we need to take care of. So currency I'll take in euros right now, and you can create for different currency, you can create different types of one-time vendor codes. Okay, so once a vendor code is generated, that is one-time vendor code, now we can proceed with the RFQ, and I will tell you where to use that one-time vendor code. So here I just told you how to create one-time vendor code, but how to use it, I'll tell you when I start with the RFQ process case. So let us start with RFQ now. What is that RFQ? Yummy 41. Create RFQ initial screen, and here it is asking RFQ type. So RFQ type is what guys? Here. What do you mean by RFQ type? Document type. So like for purchase order, we have a standard document type called as NB. For scheduling agreement, we have LP. For contract, we have MK. So similarly, for RFQ creation, we have got a standard RFQ type AN. So keep it same. Language key is English, and here RFQ date, I'm taking today's date only. And here you can see guys, I was speaking about this point, quotation deadline date, right? So I'll say I want all the quotations by 10th of September. So 10 days time I have given to the vendors to create their quotations and submit to me. And apart from that, other things like for which plant you are purchasing this material and all. So once you go to the next page, it will ask in the header data that enter the collective number. So collective number is nothing but a project title guys. If you want to provide anything like any project information, you can provide. So I think I have taken the project title here in the initial stage. So the project was given like a title Q105. So I'm taking that and get inside, and you make the list of all the requirement materials which you have. So my requirement is keyboard, and I want 10,000 pieces here, and I'm expecting a delivery of these materials, let us say by 5th of September. Now guys, do you think it is a correct or wrong?
Wrong.
Why?
Because we have expected quotations, like we have given the quotation deadline date at 10th of September,
Hmm.
and we are expecting the delivery date to be 5th of September.
Okay. So how many of you have understood this? Others?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See guys, simple thing. What is this delivery date guys? This delivery date is the expected delivery of the material if that vendor gets selected. And when that is going to happen? That is going to happen after you when you start with the procurement activities. So the procurement activities will happen when you complete all these activities after creating RFQ, taking RFQ, making a comparison, negotiation, selecting the vendor, onboarding him, and after creating master data, then your procurement activity starts, and after that you receive the material. Correct guys? After that you receive the material. So why I'm putting that date here itself in RFQ? What is needed now? Because anyway, while creating PO, I'll give the delivery date. So why it is required in RFQ? Okay. Yes. Simple thing is that see, now suppose guys you go to the showroom and you collect all the information except the delivery of the vehicle, and without collecting that information, let us say you have made a payment, advance payment, and after making advance payment, the showroom people are saying that you will get the delivery of the material or delivery of the vehicle after 6 months. So will you accept it? No, right? So it is a mandatory information, a very important information, that we have to inform the vendor that if the vendor gets selected, then he has to deliver me the material by this tentative delivery time. So I need to provide, as a buyer, I need to provide my material requirement information in how many quantities I want and by when I want it. Because later on vendor should not say that you have not informed me about this delivery time after selecting the vendor. So before itself, if that vendor says that he can supply this material, then he will give you the quotation. Simple as that is. The second problem is that the quotation deadline date, what is there here, is 10th of now September, guys. And you are saying that you want that material delivery before that only. Is that possible? It is just like you go to the showroom and you are saying that you provide the vehicle delivery today itself, but you give the quotation tomorrow. Yes, guys, do you think that is the correct process? Will that work? Never.
No, sir.
Because
No.
see, delivery of the material will happen after all this process, right? After coming to the P2P cycle. But quotation should be submitted when? Before you start with the comparison, right? So how can the delivery time of the material can be before this 10th? Not possible. So even if you add it, system will directly give you the error case. Here, system says please enter the delivery date later than submission of the bids. Now see, from system point of view, you add any date after 10th, system will take. That is, even if you add on 10th of or 11th of September, right? System will accept it and it will proceed because system wants what? Any date after 10th. But you think guys, practically, can you get the material delivery within 1 day after submission of the quotation? Yes. So after receiving the quotations from the supplier, can you do all these tasks? Comparison, negotiation, selection, vendor onboarding, contract management, creating a master data, then creating a PO, and will you receive the material from in the on the next day itself?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. No, sir.
So practically, so this date will be invalid. System will take it and proceed, guys. It does not have any problem. You think it practically, and you allocate some 15-20 days for that to work with, right? So I'll say here, by 30th of September, I want the materials, guys. Right? So likewise, you have got multiple list of metals. You add all of them, and you have to send these metal requirement information now to all those four shortlisted vendors. Which are four shortlisted vendors? We have taken this. In this, two are preferred vendors who are already there, and two are non-preferred vendors. So let us say I'll select this one, and above here you can see we have got an option called as vendor address. F7 is a shortcut key. So click on that. It will ask you to enter the vendor address information. So have you seen this page anywhere else? Title, name, search term, street, house number, postal code. Yes. Have you seen this page anywhere else in any other topic?
Yes.
In procurement cycle, sir. Vendor address details.
In the first page of vendor master data, that is address page. Correct? The same information is there. So here the system is asking vendor code, but before adding the information here on the top, it is asking vendors information. Now we will take first two existing vendors that are preferred vendors. So first I'll say 1000 vendor, Now 1000 vendor code is recognized by the system because it is already there in the system's data. So we will take it and this information will automatically reflect and save it. So the first RFQ is generated. RFQ number 117. Right. So similarly, now without going back, you have to add remaining three vendors information because you have already selected the line of material information, your requirement, and you have to send that information to the remaining vendors. So add them one by one. So next you go with 1010. So see his information also gets reflected and save it. Right. So next RFQ number 118. Now the problem arises. What? Now the remaining two vendors don't have any vendor code which is recognizable by your system. Let us say this vendor who's there, he is a Dell and he is a Logitech. Correct. So I want these vendors. Now I have collected the information about these vendors through what I say sourcing, external sourcing from the websites and all. I've got their basic address information and all. So I'll say, sir, I'll add that information manually without vendor code. So if you try to add it, see guys, I'll add it. Let me say Dell Limited. Okay, keyboard and add some basic information guys here. The country Germany, right? And now suppose if I try to add this information, see guys, system did not take it and it is giving you a message at the bottom. What it says? It says enter a vendor or one time vendor. Now the fonts are too small here to read it, but while you are practicing, you can read them, guys. It says if a vendor exists, vendor master data exists for the vendor, then enter the number of the vendor. And if no vendor master record exists of the vendor, then you must go with the one time vendor. Did you guys? So now we have to come with that one time vendor. So what was the vendor code, guys? We have used OTV 119. Correct? So hit enter now. Now see. Now it is accepting the manually entered information. Anyway, for the non-preferred vendors, we should enter the information manually only. But without vendor code, it is not possible to create any document in our system base. Understood? So we have to take this one-time vendor code. And what is the advantage of this vendor code? I'll tell you. Now first let me say this RFQ. You see guys, right? RFQ created. But the advantage of this one-time vendor code is you can use the same one-time vendor code for other vendor information also now guys. So next vendor is who? Logitech, right? So it will not get fixed with only one vendor guys. See, so same vendor code I can use it for multiple vendors for multiple times. So one more RFQ is generated. Getting guys? So this is how we create RFQs. Once we create RFQs, as we know, we have to send this to the yes suppliers. And of course, we know that we are going to send it through mails only. So how we are going to attach this to the mails? Through message output. This is the same thing which I have shown in the P also. Correct? Message output. So go here, I'll show you a sample of 102 ME9A. So you add RFQ number. So let me say I'll take 117 till 120. I'll show all of them. So when I click on execute, so one by one you take it here. And here when you say display message, output message, it will go guys. But right now our system is not configured for that. But I'll show you the sample copy of that. This is how it appears. Description about the RFQ. RFQ name, RFQ number, date, firm information is there. Okay, quotation deadline date, delivery date, material description, how many pieces, vendor code, everything is there. Similarly, all other things will be taken here. Okay. Now what next? Next is that once we send it, so what vendor will do now? Vendor will prepare the quotation and he sends it to the buyer. So buyer will receive them and maintain the information one by one in our system. So to maintain it, to maintain the information received from the vendor, we have to use the T code ME47. But with reference to what we are going to maintain the quotation, with reference to RFQ number only, guys, because RFQ number holds the information about the vendor and requirement information of the material. So go for ME47. It says maintain quotation with reference to RFQ. So take RFQ number. So first RFQ number is what? 117. So get inside, and here you can see the information about the materials and all. It is there as per the RFQ, but important is the net price. So as I said, let me say this is giving for 100 euros. So I'll save it. So which was this vendor? 1000 vendor is okay. And second vendor, so I'll change it. Document number 118. So he, let us see, is providing for 110 euros. Save it. Next 119. Who is this? Dell vendor. Let us say is providing for 90 euros. Right. And also 120 Logitech is providing, let us say, for 80 euros. Yes. So you have maintained the information. So likewise, you can maintain multiple other things. Now we have maintained the price information. So with price, we can go for a price comparison chart also. So like the comparison statement I have shown you, the system will prepare a comparison statement only on the price, and you can decide on that, because price is an important factor for making a comparison. So you add the RFQs number here, from which all RFQs or quotations you want to compare, and say execute. So here the system will show you the comparison chart where it has allocated the ranks, rank 1, 2, 3, 4, based on the price. Here Logitech company which was there, he has allocated 80 euros, 90, then Dell is 90, 1000 vendor is 100 euros, and there 110. So it has allocated the price base, sorry, ranks based on these prices. Now you have to decide which vendor to select. So of course, as we have seen an example, lowest price does not mean that he is always the best vendor. Here we have made a comparison of only price, but what about other factors? Correct. So that all things we have to make a comparison statement, a proper comparison statement. That is what we call reporting works and all, and we have to prepare a or select the best vendor. But who will do this? Lot many things are involved, guys. Of course you cannot take the decision, so you can send it to your manager or your requester or your clients. So those people are going to purchase the material, so they are going to decide and they are going to tell you which vendor should get selected or no. Let us say after doing all those things, activities, this Dell got selected and all other vendors got rejected. So I have to inform all the rejected vendors stating that your quotation got rejected because of so and so reason. So in system also I have to reject them, guys. So we are going to reject. Simple. You just will open those quotation again, and that is ME47 decode maintain quotation information. You just go there and reject all the vendors whose information got rejected by the client. So as I said, except this Dell vendor 119, rest all vendors got rejected. So you can just double click on this quotation number itself. It will go to maintain quotation ME47, and here in the last column you can see second column we have got here option called as rejection indicator. So click reject and save it. Dell, don't do anything with that because it's accepted. So go with 117, reject it and save it. 118, reject and save it. Done, guys. Right. So after rejecting, again it is your duty that you have to send a mail to them through message output. So now if I check it slash me9a, so see, guys, so what is this 1000 vendors saying? Now if you read the display message here, it says rejection letter relating to RFQ. Ready? Check this 1010 vendor, rejection letter. Check this Dell vendor 119. No, he got accepted. So there is no rejection letter. It's only RFQ, normal RFQ. But what about last Logitech? Even he got rejected, right? So there is a rejection letter. So this is how we prepare the RFQs, compare the quotations, and select the best vendor before procurement activities. So what we had done is we had first learned P2P cycle in our initial classes, then we learned master data, and now we are learning all these things because this you could have never understood in the initial sessions, guys. Okay. So this is all about vendor sourcing and RFQ topics. Understood, everyone? Of course, this topic looks a little bit complicated for those who feel that they have never practiced anything, but it is a very important topic, is vendor sourcing and all. So we'll be discussing much more things about this in the interview preparation sessions. So as I said, for this evening batch, online students, guys, we this was the last session which we were having for the practical part. So next week onwards, before we start with the interview preparations, so next week will be your initial practical part only. Like you all need to practice all the topics once again, and I'll be sharing your profiles. So once your profiles are ready, then I'll inform in a group. So we will be creating a separate interview preparation group, guys, for the particular month-wise batches, because there will be adding multiple batches and we'll be creating a common group for interview preparation. So we will be adding one by one students who have cleared their all the fees and all. We will be adding them, and we will be getting with the interview preparation part there, guys. But before we go there, as I said, everyone need to practice this all the topics and get it perfect, right? Because from interview point of view, lot many scenario based questions will come apart from practical. But if you don't know how the practical works, then you'll not understand the scenarios also, guys. So please practice all those things which we have dealt into whatever the assignments I had given you. Keep it ready, and then we will discuss all of those things in the interview preparation, guys. Right? For morning batch candidates, tomorrow will be the last session. So tomorrow morning we'll be meeting at 10 o'clock. So you can come to the office, guys. Evening, guys. Did you all get it? Any confusion? Okay. So guys, from next week onwards, there will be no regular classes. So keep practicing, and any doubts, you are free to call me anytime. So please get in touch with me for any doubts and all, so we can share the screen for online candidates and we can resolve. For offline candidates, they can travel to office, or any online candidates anytime they are willing to come to the office, they can travel, because even Saturdays, Sundays our office will be open, and just come and clarify your doubts, guys. Right? So yeah, guys, so that's it from my end, and thank you everyone for attending the classes regularly. So we'll be in touch, and all the best for your interview preparations also, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you everyone, guys. We will conclude here. Bye, guys. Good night.
Good night, sir.